Hello and welcome back to Late Afternoon with Zubaira. We are joined here today with Tazin Banu of the Bengali mental health movement. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, I forgot to mention that she is the founder of Bengali mental health movement, which is such an amazing thing that you did, honestly. I don't think that people realize what a big deal this is. Because there is such a stigma in our society about mental health. And what you're doing is completely amazing. But before we get into that, Tazin and I go way back, so we just wanted to talk about life a little bit. Like, you got any gossip or anything? Like, what's going on,
I don't
girl?
know. Things have been kind of crazy with the weather being kind of up and down.
Okay.
Also, it took a really long time to get my hair this way. I don't really know. Also, share your hair tips with me.
So for the past year, I've been doing my own hair, been cutting my own hair because of the economy.
That's quite skilled.
Poverty will make you pick up some skills, okay? You'll learn some things while you're poor. Real talk, okay?
Get really savvy.
Yeah, I'm learning how to sew my own clothes right now.
I did take up sewing at one point, and you're into knitting now, are you?
Not really, that was just a joke.
That was just a joke, okay, well, anybody who's into knitting?
Why don't you tell us a little bit about Bengali mental health movement?
Yeah, so Bengali Mental Health Movement is a organization that started online in October of 2018. And it kind of started off as a way to bridge the gap between mental health services and resources and the Bengali community. And so what I started doing was kind of just translating mental health content into Bangla, like a really simple thing that we're just kind of like, oh, well, anybody can do that. And yes, anybody can do that. But it's just not out there. So like words like depression and anxiety and just other concepts that I think Bengali people experience, but sometimes don't have a way to explain them, or when they're explained in medical settings, our providers don't really understand what we're talking about. So kind of just giving language to those experiences. So that was part of it. And the other part of it was centralizing like a directory of Bengali mental health professionals across the United States. So that's what we were working on.
Like, when we talk about like mental health with our parents, they kind of like are like, what are you talking about? You know, like I've had family members who've been prescribed depression, like medicine for antidepressants, and they're just like, why would I take this? What if I get like addicted and stuff like that? I'm like, you're not addicted to your blood pressure medicine, are you? Like, what? Like, and it's really hard to describe to them how like physical health is, like mental health is just as important as your physical health. Matter of fact, sometimes your mental health can affect your physical health. Have you gotten any like older Bengalis to come forward and talk to you about these things at all?
That's a really good question. I think like just with how, as you mentioned, social media is, like we do attract a certain demographic age-wise right now, like 18-35, of course. But the interesting thing is, like, we'll often get messages from people saying like, oh, I just shared your post and I had this conversation with my parent, or I had this conversation with my mom and it was really helpful. And like, those are the moments where I'm just kind of like, wow, this was amazing. I just spent, 10 minutes translating this thing, and like it opened up a conversation in a family.
Yeah.
And like, that's probably like the best outcome. And then there are other times when I have to kind of take a step back because like my education, my training is in social work. So I have all of this like jargon that I use to describe what mental health is, but that's not what's readily accessible to our communities where like symptoms are really usually expressed somatically, like physically, right? Like if you're having an anxiety episode or a panic attack, that's going to be described like with the heart racing or like headache or something like that. So kind of taking a step back and trying to have that conversation, well, like what happened when you were having that experience, and just, linking up those experiences with, hey, maybe that was about something you were stressed about earlier today, or...
Why do you think like South Asians, Bengalis in particular, need such a supportive community?
I think I can only speak to like our New York, like local community here, and I think we have such an interesting experience as people who are kind of recent in terms of the immigration history, but we make up such a big population of like the minority groups here in New York. So you'll see us everywhere. We're like largely working class, and so we experience a lot of issues around like stress and poverty, and we also experience the highest levels of linguistic isolation. So Asian Americans in general are like less likely to pursue mental health services, and then on top of that, translated services are not available. So like even if we do go to get help, like people usually aren't able to help us because they can't understand what we're needing. So that's kind of like the tricky place that we're in right now. And in terms of like stigma, it's just like you don't ask for help. You're supposed to be able to figure it out on your own.
Or just work it off.
Or work it off.
Just,
and
like just keep working and ignore everything that's going on in here so that it'll be fixed on its own.
Yeah, and it's because you're supposed to provide for the family, you know? How can you look to yourself and take care of yourself if you're supposed to provide for others? And so we're always kind of like this active service mode, and sometimes people think it's selfish to need your own time or to need your own help. And so, yeah, there's lots of reasons for stigma, but I think it's just very interesting because we're so community oriented, and I think there could be a lot of healing in community. Just like gentle push in the right direction. I was the only Bengali therapist intern there.
In a lot of fields, you are the only Bengali.
Right. I mean, I was one of two Bengalis at Smith too, and it was just kind of strange because I went to school here, obviously, and then there's so many Bengalis in undergrad and in high school, and then you go out into the middle of Massachusetts, and it's just you and one other person. Yeah. And then I come back to New York, and I'm in my internship, and I'm like, well, where is everybody else? Like, I'm not the only one here, right? There are people who have been doing this. Yeah. So that's kind of like where the Bengali mental health movement also was started, because I was like, hello.
See, you said that you're not a community organizer, but you are a community builder. I mean, you are destigmatizing mental health in our community, and you're also bringing together all these mental health professionals that we didn't know that existed. Because I would love to talk to a Bengali woman about my mental health. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? Like, what do you do? What do you do outside of mental health?
Oh, good God. What do I do outside of mental health? I like to hang out with my sister.
Me too. Yeah. Yo, I'm a stan for my sister. Like, I really am. She's 9 years younger than me. I love her.
We're close in age, my sister and I, so
that's
fun.
Yeah.
I like to go out to eat. I love eating Thai food, South Asian food, with whatever money I don't have. I like to spend it all. I like music. I like going to concerts. But yeah, I mean, right now it's finishing up graduate school, so like just racing to get that degree.
I know. Well, you see how quickly we go from like talking about something fun to like, no, but I'm doing important things. Like, I swear to God, I'm doing. It's been great talking to you. Thank you so much for coming here today. I hope that you guys expand and you find more Bengalis in different areas of New York that are not just New York City, because you know there's Bengalis in Buffalo and Albany and things like that.
Across the United States.
All across the United States. There are Bengalis in Iowa. Yeah. That's crazy. But thank you so much for talking to us today.
Thanks so much.
Please take care.